Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, it's Jose here. Well, today I am going to be talking about comic collecting, my introduction to comic collecting, not why, because I'm assuming the reason why you collect comics is because you like them, but how to approach it. And the way I see it, there are two main reasons why you are collecting comics. Number one, as a hobby. Number two, as an investment. And I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them and how to approach them. So, comics as a hobby is what I do. You collect comics because you like them. You started reading them at some point in your life, you fell down that rabbit hole, and that's what you like to spend your money into. And many times you're going to wonder, why do I spend my money in this? What's the point? What am I doing? And always remember, whenever you're thinking that way, whenever you find yourself wondering that, think about the alternatives. You could be spending that money on alcohol, hard drugs, cigarettes. Take your pick. Comics as a hobby. If you're looking to get into comics as a hobby, the way I would approach it would be possibly three main ways. Number one, you pick a character. There's a character you like and you build your library around that character. So for instance, I've got my Batman collection on that top shelf there. I did a reading intro guide to the Batman character. I'll leave a link in the description below. And basically I liked the Batman character. So I went through the canon, I went through the key stories, through the key volumes that have been published easily accessible on Batman, and I built my collection there. Or maybe there is a particular writer that you like. So for me, it would have been Alan Moore. So I've got a lot of the Alan Moore stuff because I really like what he does and his ideas. So of course, I got the Swamp Thing from Hell, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. There's quite a few things. So you can pick a character, you can pick a writer, or maybe there's a particular artist that you really like. For me, it would be Antonio Hernandez Palacios. Was a Spanish artist, and I've got pretty much everything he did, from the westerns to his historical comics, actually that's what he did, westerns and historical comics on Columbus's journeys. Ideas. So you pick a character, you pick a writer, you pick an artist, and you follow what they do. And you build your hobby around that. I mean, now with the pandemic, things are completely dead on their tracks. But if you can, at some point in the future, get yourself to a Comic-Con. You can get to meet artists and writers. I did so numerous times, and I got a lot of my Batman comics assigned by artists and writers. Some of my Watchmen and V for Vendetta, I even, David Lloyd, the artist for V for Vendetta, did that sketch for me, or Sean Phillips, who was one of the main artists for Hellblazer, did that sketch for me, John Romita Jr. From Kick-Ass. So, you can go to these Comic-Cons, it's a cool day out, say cool, it's a cool day out. I took my kid to the last one, our local one here in Spain, and he got all dressed up as Optimus Prime, and we spent a family day there. And it is a nice thing. Also, it is great if you've got a decent bookstore nearby. So for us, when we were living outside of London, Forbidden Planet is a prime destination comic bookstore in London. They did a lot of launches, so whenever a new comic would be launched, you will have the artists and writers invited there. You could just go there, get your comics signed, meet and greet. Generally, again, cool places to hang out. And you can build your hobby around that and meet like-minded people. And you will see, naturally, your collection will grow. And you do it because you like it. And that's all there is to it. There's no further justification needed. Collecting comics as an investment is something I looked into and it's something that I decided is not for me. But I did a bit of research around it. I've got a vague idea of how it works, and this is what I can comment on it. Number one, if you are treating comics as an investment, then you need to think like an investor. And that means you cannot get attached to any particular comic that you get. Because if you're going to trade it out for cash, you're hoping to make money, or treat it as an investment, at some point you're going to dispose of it. That's investment rule number one of any investing strategy. Keep an eye on the exit point. I used to work in financial markets. That was my first career, so I know a little bit what I'm talking about. Read upon it, first of all. You need to know what has value in comic collecting. So for instance, all these trade paperbacks that I've got here, they've got zero value. There is no value there. Even if they are signed, and a lot of them are, they've got no collector's value there. So the things that have got value are first issues, particularly if they are from the golden age or silver age of comics. You've probably heard about them in the news. An Action Comics #1, the first ever Superman comic, will sell for millions because it's very rare, and it's got that value of being the first Superman. But obviously, I'm assuming you haven't got millions to spend. You can find a first issue or a first appearance, so maybe not necessarily the first Spider-Man, but maybe the first comic in which Dr. Octopus appeared, or the first Wolverine appearance, or something like that has got value. So first issues, first appearances. Now, those original monthly issues staples, not the paperbacks, but the original ones, those things have got value if they are signed. Maybe they are rare and they got some value because of that. But if they are signed, then they have value. However, the problem with signed comics in the collector's world is that they, in order to get that value of the signature, they need to be verified. Verified by whom? Well, I don't know, but these companies have sprung up that have, for some reason, they've decided that they are the go-to place for verified signatures, and it costs money. So your main one is CGC. So CGC, I've been to Comic-Cons where I met one, can't remember his name right now, the guy that took over from Stan Lee on the X-Men there, and he was signing up, so I took my X-Men trade paperback and he signed it, it was fine. He wasn't very talkative that day. But the guy in front of me had all these original X-Men comics from the 60s, 70s, whatever time it was. Because he was going to get them signed as an investment, you have to call an official guy, a dude that works for CGC. So you have to make sure that when you go to a Comic-Con or you're going to get a comic signed, you call one of these guys so they witness the signature process. And you're going to pay them for that witnessing process. This guy in front of me forked out literally hundreds. And what they do, CGC will witness the signature, they will take the comic off you, they will ship it away to the central office where they will encase them, close, they will give it a grade, so to say how well preserved, how well kept it is, so they got a grading system, up to 10, so like a 9.9, 9.8, are you like almost mint or near mint condition. And you cannot read that comic anymore because it's slapped. It's sealed in this thing that you're never gonna open again. And the second you open it, it's going to lose value because you've opened it and you've broken that seal of the condition in which the comic is kept. So if you think about it, you get just that signing, witnessing, sealing process can take up a lot of money. So you need to have the comic, which maybe you've got from ages ago, or maybe you bought. So in my case, I got this Batman Damned #1 issue. Okay, this was rare. This is out of print because it shows Bruce Wayne's penis. So that's it's very rare when it came out. So I bought it after a bit of the hullabaloo. So I think it cost me £40. So £40 for the comic. Then I had to get a ticket for the Comic Con in London. That was about 20 or 30 pounds, something like that. Then I met Brian Azzarello, the writer. He signed it for me, but he was charging 20 pounds for the signature because I don't know, they make money, writers like that, charging for the signature because they know you can flip it on eBay. And I did a bit of research before this video. This thing here sells for like hundreds. As it is, there hundreds. The issue with mine is not certified by CGC. And the fact that things are advertised for hundreds on eBay doesn't mean there's someone willing to pay for them. Well, that's what people are trying to sell them for. So think about it, I think I paid 40 for the comic, 20 for the signature, plus my entry ticket to the Comic Con. So already this thing, if I want to break even, is $100, £100, €100, somewhere along those lines. I've seen people sell them for 300, 200, 400, whatever. Is there someone out there willing to pay that price? I don't know. But anyway, so if you want to go down the investment route, you have to be willing to spend that kind of money and keep an eye on what's valuable. I remember talking to the guy that used to owns my local comic book store when I used to live in the UK. That, he said, stayed on the shelves for weeks. You know, it was Batman Damned, whatever, Brian Azzarello. No one made a deal about it until they made a deal about it, and then it flew off the shelf and you couldn't find it, and every single comic book store ran out and you couldn't find it for a lot of money. So another thing to bear in mind is what has value, and I've said first issues, first appearances, what's hot, and some things are about timing. That when it came out, you could have bought it, I think it cost like £5 when it came out on day one. You could have bought it like that, and literally a month later you could have sold it for 40 or 50 because it just became rare. So you could have made that quick back there if you don't care about the story, about the art, about the comic, and you just want to flip it around. If you don't care about the story, it's a 3-issue story, you could just wait until the trade paperback collector comes out and you buy it. And maybe if I was of a mind, that's probably the only comic that's worth any money in my collection, I could just buy the collector trade paperback and try to sell that with the other two. But you know, when I said don't get emotionally attached, I am emotionally attached to that, so I'm not going to sell it. Like I said, apart from CGC, there's other companies where if you've got signed comics and they weren't there to witness, they've got some kind of signature verification process where you can send your comics, so you're gonna send it, you're gonna get it back, and they will give it some sort of official seal of approval that yes, that is the official signature. So you're looking at companies like CBCS, PGX, and EGX. Those are kind of your main signature verifiers, your main sort of gold standards of verification in the comic world. As I said, just because people are selling something for hundreds doesn't mean it's necessarily going to sell for that. You may want to look at, for a while, before I shut down all my social media, I was part of a Facebook group where people talk about what's hot, what's not, what to keep an eye out, what to buy, what to sell, stuff like that. I don't know, maybe you want to look into those. Do a quick online search for comic collectors groups and see where you get there. Another thing that has got value, but again, you're talking money, is original art. And this day and age, a lot of comics are drawn on directly on the computer, digitally, so you're not going to find that anymore. But, and some artists still do, they will draw the pages on paper. The original art is there, and then that gets digitized, they make the comic out of that. And what does the artist do with those original pages? They just sell them. So some artists have got dealers who will sell original pages, original art. I've seen them at Comic Cons, I've seen it online. They cost money, they cost a lot of money. You're talking, hundreds for just one page. And literally, I saw at a very small Comic Con I went to near Manchester in London, Oldham Comic Con number 2, where Carlos Ezquerra, creator of Judge Dredd, rest in peace, he sold, the person in front of me, an original big page of a Strontium Dog, and it was literally, I think it was about a couple of thousand, just paid like that in cash, sold it. It was a big sort of A3 type thing, you know. So you can deal in something like that. It's an investment. There are risks as well. You know, don't fall prey to the hype of variant covers. You know, again, I keep referring to Batman Damned. They did the original cover work by Lee Bermejo, but they also did a variant set with covers by Jim Lee, and for some reason those cost a little bit more in the second-hand market, not originally. And the problem is the comic industry shot itself on the foot in the 90s. They went through a massive crisis because that was the time when people were finding old comics from Golden Age, Silver Age, and selling for big money. So Marvel, DC, they thought that people would just buy anything, and they started, you know, publishing everything with variant covers, silver foil, glow in the dark, whatever stuff, and people were just like, well, you know, you're flooding the market with this. Those comics sold because they were rare, not because there's loads of them in lots of different variants, and there was a crash in the speculator market there. So, you know, it's not without risks. It is an investment. The value of your investment can go up as well as down. So be careful. You know, if you're going to start, dip your toes, buy something for $3, $4, $5, win a bet, see if you can flip it for 20, 30. And if you got a lot more cash, well, you know, you can go as crazy as you like. But it is not for me. For me, comic collecting is a hobby. I like reading them, I like looking at them, I like meeting creators and artists, getting them signed, building my collection, getting a few sketches here and there, they look cool on my wall, and that's it. That's how I take comics. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. These are my thoughts on comic collecting. Please take lots of care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.